Normally I do something funny or tell a joke, but I don't really have a joke at the moment. That's probably going to make the intro. Hello there, CPDH people. Welcome. Today is a very, very, very special episode. I know we don't put a lot of content out on .guide very often, and well, this has cause, right? There's something in the air. There's something recent just happened that denotes some excitement, right? Let's generate some excitement. Let's celebrate. That's the word. Let's celebrate the accomplishments of this very special person. So, as many of you know, yesterday was the second Sanctuary PDH Open Series event. And as per usual, I think we had 15 people versus the 16 we had last time, but it's still par for the course as far as these events are going. So just to kind of tell a little backstory leading up to this event, our dear friend here was a late addition. I do believe she was brought in that morning or the night before. Within 24 hours of the event starting, she was added. And as I recall correctly, as I'm doing this narrative, I think you were actually taken to a friend of the family's house. So that way you could have your own setup to play with and all of that. So she wasn't even co-located with her dad, who was actually doing quite well in the tournament as well. Actually had the most points because he had 2 wins than everyone, but we'll get into that. So yeah, Caitlin, my dear friend, new friend. So yeah, welcome.
I've known you for a while.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, man, this is crazy, isn't it? So number one, big winner, no secret, right? Big winner, came in, slayed the dragon, knocked it down, did the thing. So let's find a nice place to kind of jump into it. So for those who don't know, what list did you play?
Dargo Ketis.
Yes, absolutely. So what is your history with Dargo Ketis? Give me a little, little run up on how you kind of got introduced to the deck and your experiences with it, how long you've been playing with it, yada, yada, yada.
So the reason why I picked up Dargo Ketis as my commanders is because it was, by technicality, one of the closest things to my CEDH deck, which is Muxus Goblin Grandee. I am just like strictly aggro. Sometimes I play Malcolm Ketis, but I only picked that up recently. But since I've been playing Pauper when I first started Magic 3 years ago, all I've been playing is just aggro. So Dargo Ketis was definitely a good place to start because it's very close to what I'm used to playing.
Sweet. Aggro. Hear that, folks? Aggro. Gotta love it. Man, another 10 years and you are just going to be slaying these folks. It's going to be awesome. So Dargo Ketis. Now, we have met, we've kind of interacted with each other for 8 months, a year. I can't recall. It's been a while where our paths have crossed. I've played a few games with you. You've played some games with me, that sort of thing. I do recall, earlier games with you with the list, and you were still then trying to figure out the interactions and that sort of stuff. I can say without a doubt, unequivocally, because I caught some of your games on stream yesterday, that you have kind of worked through those bugs, kind of gotten comfort. I think you're comfort is the word. You're super comfortable with what you're doing with it, to where you're kind of somewhat on autopilot. Am I putting words in your mouth there? No,
not necessarily. I mean, just kind of recently, because I don't really play Magic often. It's more of my dad that plays, but just kind of recently I've been getting better at remembering my triggers and remembering everything and being able to just sequence everything properly. Because one of my things with Magic is that, well, one of the reasons I started playing actually is because I'm not that good at math. And aggro, it's been helping me get through math. Like, when I started playing Pauper 3 years ago, it brought my grade up from, I think, a D to an A, so... And...
Man, I'm gonna shed a tear right now. Jesus, man. So, a little disclosure. I am math deficient as well. And it's not that I don't know how to do it. It's just that I don't enjoy it. And I kind of look at it from the perspective of like, why am I going to put this hot burning stick in my eye? Why am I going to do that? Right. I mean, I'll do it, but I don't want to do it. Right. I can't speak for you, but it sounds like, you know, is that a similar thing? I don't enjoy it. I don't think you would. Yeah.
I mean, I don't enjoy math, and two, I'm not very good at it to begin with, but aggro, it makes it fun to actually like do math, I guess, in a sort of way, because my first pauper deck was heroic, which is just straight math, because you're playing ethereal armor, you're playing all of your enchantments, all of your equipments, and it's just how much am I hitting you for, how much I have to multiply this, I have to add this, and then just kill you. But with Dargo Kediss, it's almost the same thing. Well, it's actually the same thing, because you have to do the math with Kediss, you have to add the enchantments on Dargo, you have to count your Dargo damage, double strike, +1/+1, whatever. Whatever you have, it's just Dargo math.
So what we're really saying here is like, listen up, you Department of Education folks. Start playing Magic in school, right? Make math fun again. Right on. Okay, so with the list, I will be including a link to the list in the description. So at this point, because you've been playing the list for a while, do you provide inputs like feedback to Dad?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes, like, if this card doesn't really fit, or if I'm just flooding with lands, sometimes it could just be because of sleeves, but there have been cases where I've just been flooding like 10 games in a row, and we've had to cut lands or add different stuff, and I tell that to him whenever I play, so.
Sweet. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions on the list, I'm not sure whether or not Gator has comments available on his Mox Field or not. In either case, he is not totally unreachable. He's everywhere, co-host of the Common Theory. Like, if you've got questions on the list, by all means, reach out to him. So before we get into this tournament, because I've got the rounds pulled up now, I don't have the decks that you were playing, but I think between you and I, we can probably remember, because Bobby, at the point of this recording, has not uploaded that data to the back end of CPDH Guide. But I digress. So you just turned 30 yesterday or 2 days ago? No?
13.
So
on June 4th.
June 4th. So we have, you know, a younger Magic player getting into the format, doing the thing, winning tournaments, like, for real, like the real deal. This is the stuff dreams are made of. Like, I wish I was playing Magic at 13. So
actually, I think it was when I was 11, I won a pauper tournament with Heroic.
There we are.
And I topped a CEDH tournament when I was 12.
Future champion of the world right here. So now that we have discussed the list, your experiences in Magic and stuff like that, let's kind of hyper focus on yesterday's events and rounds and stuff like that. And in round one, you were playing against it's got their logged names here. So I think David Simonchik is Ankylosaur. I think that's who that is.
Yeah.
And then
Ankylosaurus.
Yeah, and then Tonis Balonis, and then I can't remember who James Mendez is. Oh, is that Yami?
Yeah, that's Yami.
Okay, so and then yourself, and that was your first round. So
that match was a draw because we went to time.
So there's some interesting things about that. So Tonis Balonis was on what list was he on?
Because Ankylosaurus was on Gretchen, Yami was on Abdel Agent.
Yep.
And I forgot what he was on. I think was it Malcolm Breaches? No.
No,
Malcolm
that was
player.
Yeah, that was Joe, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Joe. So the important thing to note about this is that this would not be the last time in this tournament that you would face off against Yami and Abdel and Ankylosaurus, right? You three, ironically, in this draw, would actually end up in the final pod with your dad. So what I find fascinating is because for the tournament, you got 1 point for draws, and I assume you had one more win over this. So between and Yami had another win, and Ankylosaurus had another win. So they went into the final pod with 6 points, and your dad was the only one with 2 wins at that point. But I found this fascinating that this first pod, all of you guys faced off. Like, what would the final pod have looked like had that draw not occurred? Right? That's something that I find interesting. So everybody, go ahead.
For that pod, I think if we had maybe 15 more minutes, then the game would have ended. I had Dargo and Kedis in play, I believe, and I think Yami was at somewhere between 10 to 16, and Ankylosaurus was... I'm not sure if it was Ankylosaurus or the other guy that was dead, but it was someone in that pod that had died, and...
So this is an interesting question for you. So, because we can't remember what Tonus Balonus was playing, but just kind of looking at the differences between Gretchen and Abdel, what's Agent of the Iron Throne? Is that what that is? Yep. Yeah. So between Gretchen and Abdel Agent. So after a certain number of turns, Abdel Agent will have some things on the board that provide a little bit of a wall, right, that are difficult to get around. So like in those moments, are you still just trying to like focus down Gretchen or some other combo player just so you can get that? Tell me about your strategy. What are you looking at when you look at the board state and making decisions? That's kind of really what I want to talk about.
Are you talking about like that late in the game or at the beginning of the game?
Sure, let's start at the beginning.
At the beginning, like kind of when I'm playing against Gretchen and Abdel, Gretchen is a deck that tournament I didn't really have to worry about because this is just my experience, but the games that I played against Gretchen, it was the creatures that it had in play were an untapper and Gretchen. I'd assumed that Gretchen needed the untapper to win because when it didn't have that untapper, it wasn't really doing anything. So Gretchen was just a deck that I could swing through if I wanted to, because obviously Dargo's a 7/5, and I don't think that you would want your Gretchen to die. But Abdel Agent was definitely a deck that I had to worry about because of all of the creatures. If I had killed all of the other players and I had just left Abdel, then I would have to try and attack through those attackers, which even though I run Renegade Tactics in my deck, that only stops one creature from attacking. But I do have ways to get around it, like Kark Clan Shaman, which sacrifice an artifact, deal 1 damage to each creature without flying. I do have ways to get around that in my deck, but that's only one card. So I definitely have to worry about a deck like Abdel if I'm playing against it.
See, that is expert insight. That is the expert insight that I'm actually looking for. So what you're indicating to me is the deck is originally set up to have a toolboxy kind of nature to it. So that way, sure, you can sacrifice the shaman for, Dargo fodder if you need to, if you don't need to employ it as removal. So you've got these...
But it has other uses.
Yes. So, yeah, that's the spice right there. So, like, a lot of folks on their face, and Caitlin, I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of people out there that just don't believe that Dargo Kedis is, a viable CPDH deck. I don't know if you know that, but
is it because it's aggro? Because I mean, I've been playing aggro for a long time, and I've always won with it. So, like I said, I topped a CPDH tournament with Muxus, which is an aggro deck.
So I've heard things. So because of aggro archetype, that's one. The other thing is, what protection do you have in red? The other thing is, what card advantage do you have in red? So like all of these things that people in the face value, like if if you've interacted with me enough to know, hot takes stink.
See, the thing with protection in Dargo is that I remember when Ooblet was in the format. When Ooblet was in the format, I think I was playing Dargo Armix, and someone would Ooblet my Dargo. And if that happens, then they're just the target for me to kill. I have other ways in my deck to just run you over if I need to get my Dargo back, because I obviously can't get it back. So if you're playing removal spells like O-Ring, Ooblet, whatever's in format, then you just become the target of Dargo. Because I have a Flame Rift that's in my deck, 4 mana to every player for 2 mana. I have a bunch of burn spells, I have a bunch of pingers, I have Kediss, and there are things in the deck to make Kediss bigger for that reason if Dargo ever gets exiled or gets too much to cast. So I can just run you over if I need to. And then the thing with card draw is that like I have both of the 4 mana, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and
like big
make
score,
2 treasures.
Yeah, big score and such. Yeah,
I have both of those in the deck, which sure they're 4 mana, but they're card draw. And I have a bunch of other not creatures. I have a bunch of other artifacts in the deck, like not Mycosynth Wellspring, one that comes in a play and you draw a card and then
that's Mycosynth Wellspring. Unless it's Ichor. I get those confused.
It's Ichor Wellspring.
Yeah, I get those confused too.
Yeah, Microsynth is the one with the land.
The land, yep.
And then I have all of those artifacts that if they hit the yard, you get an effect like a treasure or land or draw a card. And there's also ramp in the deck like Ash Barrens, Microsynth Wellspring, which is just thinning out the deck so I can actually draw useful stuff. You can say there isn't much card draw in red, but card draw is definitely there if you need it.
And you've kind of touched on it.
You just have to find out how to use that.
Yeah, and you've touched on some other things too, like other ways to phrase it would be card selection. If not card advantage, then resource advantage. So one key card that I can point to is like Skirk Prospector. Skirk
Prospector, definitely. So, I play a bunch of like goblins and things that say put goblins in play. Kuldotha Rebirth. I'm brain farting with the others, but Kuldotha Rebirth is one example. The sacrifice artifact clause can be useful because if you play Kuldotha Rebirth, you get to sacrifice an artifact just off the top, which can be worth for Dargo, and then you get the 3 tokens. But if you have Skirk Prospector, you can sacrifice your goblins for 3 mana towards Dargo because you get the red and you get the 2 for Dargo, which I have done that in games. And if I have one of the ones that say have put 3 goblins in play, or I just have 3 goblins in play by itself, it lets me cast Dargo right off the bat. And I don't need to use anything else.
And Rebirth is an interesting case study because of the fact, if I recall correctly, if not all, then the vast majority of artifacts that are played in the list either like create something on entrance or exit or draw a card. So you're getting double value out of your cards. Now, it's not necessarily cards in hand all the time, which, some blue mages would ascribe as the best thing to do in Magic, but you're gaining resources and employing those in a very specific way. And the goblin sub-theme, one thing that your dad and I had talked about regarding the list months ago, because I built an early list of it a couple of years ago myself, as his inclusion of like this legacy goblin sub-theme, between the, Cherugian and Prospector and are you playing Matron so you can search things out?
Yes, I am playing Matron.
So yeah, there's all these key pieces down with a goblin type that allow you to kind of get, more value out of the things that you're doing. So yeah, nice. All right, let's look at round number 2. So round number 1 was a draw. Everybody was the big sad. In fact, as I recall, I think, let me check real quick. that was the only draw of the tournament, was the one that you played in. So pod number 2, you had One More Game Chris, you had Ryan Roberts from the Common Connoisseurs, and then Joe, which was on the Malcolm Breaches list. So Ryan was playing a mid-range version of TPI, and I can't remember what Chris was playing. It was something black. And I only know that because he killed all 5,003 of my soldiers. So
it wasn't Abdel. It was a
newer brew. It was a Rakdos poop. It's coming to me. So anyway, Chris was playing One More Game. Chris was playing a Rakdos brew that actually is going to be talked about more on other channels here in the future. But so you're facing down this squad of people. I remember watching this game because I believe the triggers, all the global triggers that were happening between all the pingers.
He was playing Garna.
Yeah, Garna. Yes. Garna. So all of the sorry, Chris. Yeah. So Garna, with all of the pingers and the interactions and all that stuff. Some were saying that it was a very exhausting game to watch. I can only imagine.
Yeah, because I had tried to kill him at the end of the game, and he had a few things to do. He ended up dying in the end anyway, but it was just really confusing to figure out the math for him being able to die.
So where was the first attack for Dargo in that game? Do you remember?
The first attack? I think it was at Joe, because he was the only open one. Malcolm Breaches. Because Garna was in play, and TPI had a bunch of artifact dudes, so I can't really attack through that.
Right on. So is it once you get that first attack in on a player, is it then conventional wisdom to continue that pursuit, or do you just kind of look for the open spot? Like what's your decision pattern there?
It honestly really depends. Like, some games, the most rational thing to do is hit the person that I've attacked. But since Joe really wasn't doing anything, I could keep hitting him to deal damage to the others. But that would kill him on the third turn that I attacked him, obviously. So if someone else became open and they were more conventional for me to attack, then I might want to attack them. Because Joe literally didn't do anything for the whole game. He was on one land for half the game, and he got a second land near the end. So
I wonder what he mulled to. He probably had like some spice in. If I know Joe the way that I know Joe, he probably had some spice in that hand that he didn't want to give up. So right on. So looking at the way the TPI was kind of like flooding the board, because as I recall, Ryan was the last player in that game. Tell us how that game concluded. Do you remember?
Yeah, so after Garna died, I've killed people similar to that before, to how I killed Ryan. He was left at 4 life, and because after the Dargo hit, and I had Sawblade Scamp in play. It had an oil counter and it was untapped, so I was able to ping him for 1, and then I collateral damaged him to kill him. On similar occasions, I've flame rift people to kill them. I think I killed 2 people in 1 turn with the flame rift because they were both at 4. And then I've also stole other people's creatures to sacrifice them to ping people so they die. The deck has a lot of creative ways to kill people. So
as a fellow aggro mages, from that perspective, because I also, well, Burn is not necessarily aggro, but modern Burn at the time had an aggro component to it. So I mean, we're crossing, we're getting into the weeds with that one. But having the opportunity to point a bolt at somebody and say, "GG, baby,
you're dead.
You're dead."
The timing was perfect.
So if you're listening to this video right now and you're excited at the opportunity of just you know, sending a big fatty out, doing a bunch of global damage to everybody with the opportunity of either flame rifting a couple of opponents to finish them off, or pointing that bolt at somebody's face and saying, you know, peace out, dude. Like click on this deck list, order it from wherever you order things from, and this is the thing for you. So, man, I get excited about that stuff. So, okay, so that was round number 2. So coming off of the draw, getting in, ending up with a bolt, and I think you guys were the feature pod, but I think you were also the last pod to finish up. So,
yeah, I think we had 6 minutes left before the game ended.
So you kind of quickly had to kind of get your ducks in a row, and then the last pod before finals was Kuntz and Aaron. And Stein. Stein was on Zada. Franklin was on Abdel Agent as well, and of course Aaron was on Gut.
I had died first. What I had done that game is I was able to get Dargo out fairly quickly, and then the next turn I went Kediss and Molten Monstrosity, and then I think it was the next turn that I was just dead.
So Aaron, I can hear Aaron in my head, and I know you can too, because you've probably played a lot with Aaron over the year. Aaron probably saw you as the greatest threat to his game plan, so he's like, yeah, get out of here. If I were to guess. Righteous. And oh, that's right. I think this was a feature match as well, because as I recall, as soon as you were knocked out of the game, that gave Stein an opportunity to do Zada things, and he just couldn't get there. Yes, that's right. And then Kuntz had, or Franklin had, sacrificed some blockers to do some scry off of Viscera Seer, and that gave didn't give Aaron the opportunity, but Aaron waited for that to happen, and then fogged, right? It was the fog, not the regenerate. He used Dawn Charm to basically prevent all damage. So that was after Kuntz had already sacked the thing, which I suppose he would have done anyway for trying to get some semblance of controlling the top of his library. But yeah, that was a moment. The moment that Gut fogged, you know, if you were there, you know, if you weren't there, I mean, the VOD, I should probably link the VOD in this description as well, so that way you guys can go check that out. Of course, it was on Twitch, so it's only available for 2 weeks. Awkward. So, okay, so that's round 3. So going into the finals, it's basically like we talked about earlier, the way things had shaken out as far as pairings, previous pairings. I forget the word that they used to tiebreakers, or however that worked out. You had 1 win, 1 draw, so that gave you 6. Aaron, who won that round 3, actually came in 5th out of that because he didn't have the benefit of that 1 point from the draw. So just that 1 additional point elevated the 3 of you into the finals, where you got to face Dad. Now, while your dad was shuffling up and getting ready before play had started, I'd sent him a message and said, if you win, dibs on the interview. And then he responded, once he mulliganed and got his hand, he goes, not with this hand, bro. I was like, well, there it goes. Yeah. So
I mean, I'm like the second best thing. So
no. Ma'am, you are first. The first. You're the best Jackson in that household. Tied with your mom. And maybe your brother. Dad's definitely last. So 3 last. Yeah, okay. You get what I'm saying. So you're facing off against 2 people that you in the finals that you've got some experience with. So tell me about what you're thinking about when you're in that final pod Are you considering what you had experienced before, or are you not caring, or are you just kind of waiting to see what happens? Kind of give me the lowdown.
What I was kind of scared because I wasn't expecting to get in the finals. I was looking at the points and stuff, and if I'm being honest, I didn't think I would get it in the finals because I joined the tournament last minute, like you said, and I never done a Pauper tournament before, like a CPDH one. The tournaments that I have played in, it's been whoever gets last, they get different points than people who get first or second or third in a match. So that's why I thought that I wasn't going to be in the finals, because that's like what I'm used to playing with in tournaments. And I was really scared and like during the finals because I wasn't expecting to make it. I'm playing against a bunch of like older people and aggro.
Doesn't make
aggro
us
has never like really won a tournament before.
Yeah, doesn't make us smarter. In fact, being older and having more experience kind of convolutes things sometimes. You know, tend to overthink it, right? Instead of just getting in, doing the business. Righteous. Okay, so as I recall, your dad was in the first position. You were in the fourth position.
I was in the fourth position because I was in fourth. Dad was first, Ankylosaurus was in second, and Yami was in third. I was in fourth.
So can you recall like those first couple of turns? I mean, we were all there to see you hit your dad first, but that's because he didn't have anything.
Yeah, so, he wasn't doing anything for the whole game. So I'm kind of blanking, but for the first few turns, I was able to get a bunch of creatures out, like Saw Blades. No, Saw Blades can't post until later. Like a bunch of just vanilla 1/1s to attack with a bunch of tokens. I had Impact Tremors, so I was able to use the Forbidden Friendship, ping everyone for 2, and a bunch of other like make token cards for Impact Tremors to just ping everyone around the table. Like later in the game, I was attacking Dad. I attacked Gretchen one turn because I thought that if I left Dad alive for maybe one more turn, he could help me deal with Abdel, because Abdel was kind of scary because of the tokens. Because sure, Dargo has trample, but that doesn't really matter if I can't get through a whole wall of them, because they're 1/1s. They can just 5 of them can block, and Dargo will die, and tokens are expendable for Abdel.
Yeah. Yeah, as I recall, in the end there, Yami was trying to. I don't think he had a resolved Abdel. I think he had. He was trying to put out, what's that? Dimir Houseguard. That's what he was trying to cast, and
the one that pings everyone. I never went lower than 20 life that whole game. So.
Oh yeah. You were. That was actually, so the life total thing was something that people commented on for Dargo, like the entire, like every round. It's like, how in the world is Dargo at like 28, 30?
Because I'm the one dealing the damage.
Yeah, and nobody. The real answer is nobody can afford to tap out to deal any damage to you, because
otherwise I get to attack them.
The crackback. So it's like, build up this wall, build up this wall, build up this wall. Yami was trying to turn the corner to get that, because that house guard was the sacrifice outlet for the soldiers that he had, and he had Agent of the Iron Throne on the battlefield, but I can't recall in that moment if Abdel was on the battlefield, because that turns the Agent of the Iron Throne on.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So I can't remember if Yami had the opportunity to resolve once resolve the house guard, because house guard has a sack or regenerate line on it that people rarely read, because it's basically a tutor for other things, 99.9% of the time. So basically resolve that, sack everything to it, deal global damage. Of course, that wouldn't have killed you. I think it would have only killed Ankylosaur at the time,
because I'm at like 29 or something.
Yeah, so it still would have been it still would have been an uphill climb, because Yami would have had to basically sacrifice his entire wall. But I guess what that means is he was showing that he had a flicker in hand, basically just to rebuild the army and probably do it over again, right? So,
but either way, well, if he killed Gretchen, then I probably wouldn't have won that game, because I'm not sure if I would have been able to attack through his creatures. But since Gretchen was still alive, I think Gretchen had the higher life total when I killed everyone. I was able to, like I said, I had impact tremors, so I was able to play a bunch of like make creature cards to just put stuff in play, so I could ping the table. Yami was at 1 when I attacked, and Gretchen, I think, was at 4. So I just sent everything at Gretchen. So even if Gretchen blocked, then Gretchen would still die. And no matter what was blocked, then it would have still killed Yami. Because I also attacked with Kedis and anything else I had in play. I think it was 2 tokens. It was 2 human tokens. And a goblin token that didn't have haste.
Crazy board states.
I played Rally at the Hornburg, which you put 2 human tokens into play, and humans you control get haste until end of turn. So it pinged, and then I had something else in play that made me 1 goblin token, I think, which was able to get Yami down to 1, and then I just attacked.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the board states too, but like by the time the finals came around, I had, because I was heavily interested in like kind of watching what everybody else was doing, but also like trying to focus on the games that I was playing as well. So like the cognitive overload for that day, by the end, I was basically a vegetable. Never mind the young lady that won it. Like, how did you, was it an exhausting day for you, or does Dargo allow you the opportunity to just kind of fire and forget? Like,
yeah, pretty much. With Dargo, since it's mono red, I don't care about what my opponents are doing unless it targets Dargo specifically. And I don't have to care about what my opponents are doing, period. Because my opponents can take care of themselves. I don't care what they're doing as long as I can attack through them. Because it's sure, it can be responsive sometimes, but that's only if it needs to be. Because, like, sure, it's red. It has some cards that can respond, but that's more Blue's job, so I just leave it to the other players at the table.
See, it's kind of funny. I was daydreaming there for a second, because your dad and I, in the preceding weeks to this tournament and this recording, had talked about. It's like, Clay, why don't you play, Dargo Kedis? He's like, man, you don't have to think. You just do. It's like, nah, man, I want to be more, blah, blah. I want to be a cool kid. I want to do the thing and, TPI, that sort of thing. In retrospect, I always kick myself in the butt, because I am so engaged in the thinking and the knowing and the doing and all of that it's kind of like tiring. It'd be nice to just kind of kick back and deploy a Dargo and do the thing, right? So, righteous.
I remember when I had started playing CPDH, the first deck I picked up was Dargo Armix, I believe. Which Dad started playing, and then he made Dargo Kedis for me to play. And when I first started playing Dargo Kedis, Dad was also playing it as well, but he never won with the deck. I was the one that had got the wins for it so far. And I remember talking to him and having a whole conversation about how he was trying to be responsive because he's used to that type of play, because he was trying to look at what other people were doing, focus on other people, and not focus on his board. And I told him that you have to care about yourself. You can't care about other people when you're playing a deck like Dargo, because it doesn't care about other people. You just have to focus on what you're doing, because if you're not, then you lose, because you're too focused on everyone else. Because I remember he would leave Dargo open even if you could swing at someone for I don't remember what the reason was. And he would wait to cast Dargo until maybe like turn 5, even if he had enough resources to. But what I always did is I just got Dargo out there as fast as I could, as much as I could, and I just went and attacked.
You built the machine, do the thing, right? Let the machine do the thing that it does.
But he didn't do that until I told him that that's the way to properly play the deck. Because
this is the way.
You can't focus on other people.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You just got to do it. Sweet. Okay. Sanctuary number 2, champion. Look at that. What are your next steps? Are we looking to travel? I know that it's kind of difficult, getting the fam to go places. I was with your dad in Detroit a few months ago. So I know that's kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is difficult. I know that the Sanctuary will be having another event November, I think, December. So are you going to play in that one? Are you jazzed? Are you ready?
I mean, it depends, because traveling I'm not so sure about, because I started school literally last week. I'm still in middle school, so and
how lucky you are, really.
For tournaments, I mean, if it's on a weekend, sure, I can probably play. But like you've got so this is something we haven't really discussed at all. Like so you have a pretty robust in paper meta down there in South Florida. So you do have opportunity to practice and grind, and I don't know what the tournament scene looks like down there, but like, I mean, how often do you get to play, like on the weekends? I can envision a Gator family outing where everybody, grabs a picnic basket and heads down to the local game store and, does the thing. How often does that get to happen? Well, we've been, with me and my dad, we have this little thing like almost every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of local people come over and we all play. Sometimes we get 2 tables so we can have 2 pods. It's just like fun, friendly play. Sometimes it can be competitive. Sometimes we play CEDH. Sometimes it's CPDH. Sometimes it's just regular EDH if anyone has an EDH deck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. These acronyms are killing me.
It doesn't get any better. No, that's good, because like the sentiment that I am trying to express is probably one that other people who will be watching this video, who are hopeful that you have if not more time, but at least some time moving forward to continue to keep honing your skills. I know that other people will be hopeful that you'll be back for the next installment for the Sanctuary Open Series, so that way they can, take a shot at the champ, try to, take the title. I know that was some consideration for folks leading up to this event, because your dad won the last one. So let's just hope that your mom don't start playing. So, she'll probably win the next one.
She's been getting into playing.
So we'll just have a series of Gators going on down the line. So yeah, so I'm hopeful that you have the opportunity to play in the next one. It sounds like, there's a good opportunity, maybe even intentionally this time versus a last minute ad. So God, that is so crazy to me. Last minute ad, barely meets the thresholds of Wizards' acceptable age of play, for sanctioned tournaments.
I think for some like decks that you can buy, it's 16 plus.
So just crazy that all of these interesting details leading up, culminating, as it were, to this triumphant end. So I think, man, that's 45 minutes. I think you got
45 minutes.
Yeah, that's 45 minutes. So cover the tournament. cover the deck. It is a sweet deck. It is a very, very good. If you like aggro, Chef's Kiss. All right, this is the thing that you want to be doing. Obviously, one of the best pilots in the world. Right?
I mean, I wouldn't say one of the best in the world, but
you don't have to. Allow me. One of the best pilots in the world. So at the moment, you know, it's always fleeting, right? Tomorrow you could just be back to not being good. But today, young lady, you're good. So yeah, man, this is I'm excited about this. I'm so glad I got the opportunity to interview you. Your dad and I shared the same passion about influencing new people to the format wherever they come from.
I mean, I've been playing for 3 years now.
Yeah. So, well,
if you want, I can tell you my origin story.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about how you got in. And the reason why is because not that I'm propping you up as the poster face, but I feel as though some people, some younger people see this as a older person's game, right? And
because I mean, at least for me, it's kind of scary playing against a bunch of people that are older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I shouldn't have won the tournament on some circumstances because I was playing against a bunch of older people. So I honestly feel like I shouldn't have won.
We're not infallible. Believe me, I went in there with every intention of winning. I didn't win a single one. The closest I got, which was your dad's second win, is on turn 4. I made 5,000 soldiers. And then I did it on his turn. So it was myself, him, Chris, one more game. And then I think it was Yami in that pod as well in the 4th seat. And your dad was about to draw 3 cards. So when he was tapped out, the only other blue player at the table, I was like, okay, instant speed knack combo, make 5,000 soldiers. Okay. You got to deal with it. And then got down to Chris. Chris was like, Evenkar's Justice? I was like, damn it. So yeah, that was probably my best performance of the 3 rounds that I was in, was just basically whipping that out as quickly as possible. Otherwise it was just like slow, grindy, trying to get to pieces, and basically just putting not necessarily pausing, but just putting a trickle on my inevitable death. So yeah. I mean, you talk about not just I think given the circumstances, you're probably correct in the fact that the odds were somewhat stacked against you. And
I mean, considering how people play against Dargo Ketis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I can unequivocally say, and you know, this is kind of a testament to the community. I don't think anybody disparaged you for being a newer player, being a younger player. So I don't think you got any slack. I don't think so. There might have been one person out of 15, but I don't know that person, right? Everybody, you know, we pretty much know everybody that was in this tournament. So I don't think you got cut any slack to do anything. So I think from my perspective, in this player's humble opinion, I think you very deservingly earned that win. I think you went in, you did what you had to do. You did the damn thing. You did what you had to do, and you knocked it out of the park. And that's just kind of watching the games that I was able to watch, the parts of the games that I was able to watch. Sure, you had some tricky matchups, Abdel and TPI existing, you know, in the format, kind of give you a little fits, but then, you know, there's always that other combo player that doesn't like to play creatures because they're not cool, you know. Make them pay for it. Yeah, make them pay. So, yeah. No, that's this is awesome. Oh, you were going to talk about your so when did you start playing Magic? I guess we're
when I was in 5th grade. I had done, I think it was an all A's on my report card coming home from school. So my mom went into Walgreens with me, and I saw a Vraska standard deck in the toy aisle when I was walking through, and I was like, Mom, I saw cards like these in my closet. Can I have it? And she was like, sure, why not? And she bought it for me. I came home and my dad was like, oh no, you're not getting us back into Magic, are you? And from there, I think it was like a month later, I had picked up Pauper because one of my dad's friends had gotten me a playmat, and my first deck that I had ever played, I don't count the Vraska deck because I never picked up Standard until like maybe a year and a half after playing, which was only for 3 months, I think we played Standard.
Mm-hmm.
I had picked up Heroic in Pauper, like Laguna Band Trailblazer, Ethereal Armor, just all of those cards. Like I said, I had won a tournament with that. And after Pauper, after like regular Pauper, it was a little bit of Commander, because I remember Chainer, the newer Chainer, the one that came in the
fixed one,
Anya Falconwrath deck. Yeah, the one that came in the Anya Falconwrath deck. I remember playing that for a little bit, which was Turbo Reanimator. No, it was Anya that was Turbo. It was Chainer that was just Reanimator. And I was kind of looking at commanders for an EDH deck, because I remember my EDH deck at the time was Wyleth. And I think I was playing Phylath at the time that I picked up Muxus. And I was just looking at random commanders that I could maybe use. And my dad was like, we could make you a Goblin deck. Mom used to play Goblin, and my mom used to play Goblins in Legacy, and we had built Muxus. It was originally supposed to be like a normal chill deck, and then it turned into my CDH deck.
Monster, yeah.
And just from there on, I started playing CDH. I topped a tournament with Muxus. I think I've only played in 2 CEDH tournaments. It was either 1 or 2. And I topped once with Muxus, despite it being aggro. It's like, it has 2 combos in it, but it's more aggro than anything. The combos are just there for backup. And then we found CPDH. At first, I didn't really like CPDH because it's just slow and grindy, and that's not the way that I like to play. Because I play aggro. I've been used to playing aggro, but CPDH, it's a little slow and grindy. It depends on the game, who you're playing against, I guess. But like, I just don't like when a game is 3 hours long, you know?
Yeah, and you've kind of been around long enough to see the evolution. See, look at that. You're an old biddy like the rest of us in this format now. You know, you've been around long enough to kind of see the evolution of the discussion regarding like time limits and responsibility for, like, you know, playing quickly and that sort of stuff. Like, man, 2 years ago, I recall having, in fact, it was not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before that, I had a 5-hour game. And that's back when I was editing gameplay videos by hand. And I was so starved for, you know, content to make that I actually considered editing down. Editing down. But see, that's the thing. What does a 5-hour game turn into post-edit? 2? Like, yeah. I mean, you're still going to have to watch a 2-hour game. So I ultimately ended up not editing it and deleting it. But yeah, 2 years ago, these types of games were not out of the question. So, and I think by and large, you know, the things that you're doing, Aaron's doing, I mean, even Ryan and some of the other mid-range specialists, like, everybody's starting to kind of develop their own, like, takes on certain archetypes and that sort of thing, and trying to do it in a responsible, you know, I keep hitting this microphone, responsible, you know, 90-minute type way. So yeah, no, this is good. There we go. Now we're coming up on an hour. Okay. Homegirl, you're going to have to make it to the next one. I'm not saying I personally want a shot at the title because I'm not even sure, depending on when it falls, whether or not I'd be able to play. So I don't want to guarantee something that I don't know. But hey, if you're there,
still beat you either way.
Hey, nice. Nice. Love it. So yes, Caitlin is in the majority. Oh no, I think are you just in the sanctuary? Yeah. Or are you in home base as well?
I made a Discord just for the tournament. I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to use it. You'd have to ask my dad.
Yeah. So, Caitlin's dad, Gatorbait TV, if you have questions, stuff like that, he is the co-author. I'm going to say co-author because, she very obviously has put input into this deck. So reach out to him I think he's everywhere except for a few places. Definitely reach out to him, ask questions. I don't know if he has comments, like I said, available on his Mox field for the list. I'll definitely post that list. I think we now just hit the drawing board and plan to take you down. Take you down, sucker. Yeah.
Hey, I've been dealing with that for a while. So
yeah, you're doing a great job. I know it doesn't mean much from me, this stranger who lives on the other side of the country, that kind of stuff. I hope that you see what you did here, and I hope that you understand what it means, its impact. I hope you understand how you probably in this moment provided an opportunity for someone else like you who believes, either in the aggro way or like, hey, I'm a younger player and I want to play. I firmly believe that there will be positive ripple effects from what you accomplished here. And that's why I felt it was important to broadcast you. Now, of course, we don't have 1 million views or anything like that on this channel, but this is an opportunity for other people to see you and see what you've done and what you've accomplished and strive to accomplish the same thing. And that's what I'm hopeful for. Now, I also hope that you have, success at the next one if I'm not playing in it. Obviously, if I'm playing in it, then, we can have some good games. All right, young lady, thank you for this. I'm going to get to the edit thing and get this thing out to the world. So until the next time.
Until next time. Thank you.
Yep.